What game allows you to use fart attacks, make enemies poop their pants, and win a more popular than John Lennon trophy? Of course, it's South Park. South Park: The Stick of Truth came out in 2014 and quickly went down as one of the best South Park games ever made, with character customization beyond our wildest dreams. Though the creators had to abide by a lot more censorship rules than the show, they still managed to make a hilarious and kick-ass game full of quests with our favorite characters, even Mr. Hanky. Hi, I'm Jacob with the Leaderboard, and we've got all the tidbits on this Imagination Land-driven game, so get your vibroblade ready, cause we've got 107 facts about South Park: The Stick of Truth. Let's get started. Fact number 1. South Park: The Stick of Truth is the 6th video game adaptation of the television series. It's the most highly rated game released because, as the saying goes, 6th time's the charm. Number 2. South Park: The Stick of Truth was developed by South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone. The game, as well as the entire series, takes place in Colorado because it's the home state of Parker and Stone. Number 3. The first South Park game was released on the Nintendo 64 and was a first-person shooter simply titled South Park. Number 4. Matt Stone said he didn't care for the early versions of South Park in video game form. To be exact, he said, they stank. So we can assume he doesn't think the Stick of Truth stinks. Number 5. In the Stick of Truth, the player takes on the role of the new kid in town. You're able to choose your own name, but are referred to as douchebag in the game anyway, because that's usually what the new kid gets called everywhere.
Are you sure you want to keep the name douchebag? Very well, douchebag.
Number 6. The game starts off in the imaginations of the town's kids with a battle that has been waged for over 1,000 years between humans and elves. This is in the spirit of things like Lord of the Rings or Dungeons and Dragons. Number 7. South Park: The Stick of Truth revolves around a stick that can control the universe. It's just a stick, though. The real magic comes from the children and the people who believe in it. Hey, kids might actually learn a valuable life lesson from this game after all. Number 8. This game has a classic RPG turn-based system. This system is most popularly known through the early Final Fantasy games. It's the type of fighting where, after an attack, you politely wait for your enemy to make a move. If only real-life fights work that way too. Number 9. The Stick of Truth battle system allows for friends to help out in the fight. You can unlock 6 buddies to explore the town with, and they're able to fight alongside you one at a time. Number 10. During the character creation part of the game, the player is only able to choose a male character. But in the next game in the series, South Park: The Fractured But Whole, the player will be able to choose between a male or female character. Number 11. One of the initial ideas for the Stick of Truth was for players to sneak past people's home security systems. This actually resulted in the development of the South Park episode Insecurity, which mocks security systems as big scams. Number 12. Ubisoft was the publisher of South Park: The Stick of Truth. Yes, the same Ubisoft that has published such games in the past as Watch Dogs, Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry. Number 13. Ubisoft will also be publishing the next game in the series, South Park: The Fractured But Whole, because of the success of the Stick of Truth, making this the second time Ubisoft will strike oil from the South Park well. Number 14. THQ was the previous publisher of South Park games before Ubisoft purchased them. Ubisoft spent $3.2 million to buy the rights during the THQ bankruptcy auction. Number 15. Before selling the South Park game franchise to Ubisoft, THQ had to legally make sure Trey Parker and Matt Stone were okay with who they sold it to. Sounds like common sense, but in the competitive world of business, you never know with some companies. Number 16. When asked about the game potentially going under with THQ before Ubisoft purchased it, Matt Stone and Trey Parker jokingly answered, "Oh good, it's over." Safe to say, they were happy with the switch. Number 17. The Stick of Truth won several IGN awards. It was IGN's choice for Best PS3 Game and Best Xbox 360 Game, as well as Funniest Game of the Year. Number 18. The lead designer for South Park: The Stick of Truth was Matt McLean. McLean had previously worked on popular games such as Fallout New Vegas and Dungeon Siege 3. Number 19. There were 2 versions of South Park: The Stick of Truth. The US version, which was made to be inappropriate, but the UK and Australia versions were clean. Well, as clean as South Park can get, that is. Number 20. South Park: The Stick of Truth was released on PC, PlayStation 3, and Xbox 360. It's also been updated to be backwards compatible on current-gen consoles as well. Number 21. The game has a variety of villains like crab people, underpants gnomes, hippies, and aliens, giving an endless amount of odd things to fight not only in the game, but in your nightmares too. Number 22. South Park: The Stick of Truth won 12 E3 awards. E3 is the Electronic Entertainment Expo, also known as Christmas for tech nerds. Number 23. At a Comic-Con panel in 2013, Trey Parker joked about the delay of the game being due to over-ambition. Parker said that South Park: The Stick of Truth would have come out in the holiday holiday season of 2032 if they had gone with their original script. Number 24. The game's original script was over 850 pages long. Developers insisted that it was too much content for one game to make, and DLC should be considered. Let's just say that Trey Parker shot that prospect down with a classic 4-letter retaliation. Even when just mentioning that story of the DLC at the panel, the audience groaned. And Trey and Matt like to go with what the fans want. Number 25. Eventually, a bunch of content was cut from the game. This included a battle with vampire kids, a quest to save Cartman's doll from the Gingers, a whole Christmas town, and a huge underground world where gnomes and crab people lived. Number 26. Mr. Hankey's home from the Christmas town was kept in as a side quest, but it was pretty close to getting chopped as well. No, not Mr. Hankey! Thankfully, sensible minds kept the talking piece of poo in the game. Number 27. The game gives the player the option to create a new kid and customize clothes, hair, and even scars. So if you ever wanted to know what a South Park version of yourself with a slash across the face would look like, this is the game for you. Number 28. In traditional RPG fashion, the Stick of Truth gives the player the opportunity to choose their class, but it is South Park, so you know there's going to be a tad bit of non-tradition. The player can choose between fighter, mage, thief, and Jew. Yep. Number 29. The game allows for party building with several different characters. The characters are derived from the show's 4 main characters and 2 fan favorites: Wizard, Cartman, Princess Kenny, Warrior, Stan, Jew Elf, Kyle, Paladin, Butters, and Bard, Jimmy. It makes me wonder what it would be like to have a companion like Tweak. Number 30. The customization of the player's character is almost endless. The player can create a truly unique character, or make one based off of a famous person, especially David Hasselhoff. Number 31. The Stick of Truth is a single-player game. It's fun for everybody, but if you have a younger brother, there's actually an added feature of not letting him play, but saying you'll let him after just 5 more minutes. Number 32. The Stick of Truth sold more than 1.6 million copies. Before Ubisoft released an actual number, they said the game had better than expected sales. Don't underestimate the power of Princess Kenny. Number 33. A month after its release, Amazon copies of The Stick of Truth were selling for $20 less. Everywhere else was selling it for $60, and Amazon was selling it for $40, forcing Best Buy to do some price matching. Number 34. Obsidian Entertainment developed The Stick of Truth. They also previously developed Fallout New Vegas. Both of the games won multiple awards, but South Park was the only game with Man Bear Pig. Then again, New Vegas had Death Claws. You know what? Equally terrifying monsters.
I'm super cereal.
Number 35. Obsidian Entertainment also developed the game Pillars of Eternity, which raised over $4.1 million in funding as a Kickstarter project. That's pretty good for a Kickstarter campaign. The fact that it isn't for a friend of a friend that wants to start a vintage ham radio store is an added bonus. Number 36. When initially approached with the game's concept over the phone in 2009, Obsidian Entertainment thought Parker and Stone were making a prank call. Turns out they were just huge fans of Obsidian's work and wanted them to be heavily involved in the game's creation. Number 37. The Stick of Truth's team maxed out at around 50 people. Taking a step back, you gotta admit that's pretty friggin' small, especially with all the overambitiousness. Number 38. Not surprisingly, The Stick of Truth went through some censorship. Its co-creator, Matt Stone, felt that what was being censored was mild enough for TV, but apparently games have different rules. It originally featured scenes involving anal probing and abortion. These things were censored in the European and Australian versions of the game. Number 39. Matt Stone felt they were able to come to a compromise in the censored versions of the game. The compromise was that they would censor the visual with an image of a face-palming statue or crying koala bear, along with a text box describing what was being censored. Number 40. Matt Stone believes that the video game was censored because, quote, there's an interactiveness that makes it different. Instead of watching something, the audience is taking part in it. Like watching someone bet their house versus being the person betting their house. It's pretty different. Number 41. South Park: The Stick of Truth was released on March 4th, 2014. It was, however, delayed in certain countries like Austria and Germany due to the game's use of an unconstitutional symbol, which referred to the game's use of a swastika. It was eventually censored and released worldwide. Number 42. Ubisoft had actually thought they removed all Nazi symbols from the German and Austrian versions of the game. Whoops. The Nazi symbol is not only looked down upon in Germany, but it's actually against the law to display it. Number 43. When Trey Parker found out that Germany wanted to censor the swastikas, his first thought was to just not release it in that country. He changed his mind when he thought of the Ubisoft employees and how it might affect them. Aw, thanks, Trey. Number 44. If the player picks the Jew class, it's pretty much like all the other classes in the game, except that there are certain special abilities that involve dreidels and have names like Jiu-Jitsu. Oh, and also Cartman says you two might not be able to be friends, but who really is friends with Cartman anyway?
He's lying to you!
Number 45. South Park: The Stick of Truth allows the player to go to the movies and listen to trailers for fake films. A recurring joke is a series of fake Rob Schneider movies. Some of them include Rob Schneider is a carrot, Rob Schneider is Kenny, and Rob Schneider is da-derp da-derp da-diddly derpy derpy dumb, rated PG-13, which all sound more interesting than an actual Rob Schneider movie anyway. Number 46. The Stick of Truth did very well among critics. Its lowest score on a scale of 1 to 10 was 7, and Joystick, who instead reviewed it on a 1 to 5 scale, gave it a 3.5. Number 47. The player goes on many quests throughout the game. One of these quests is to help Tweek's coffee shop by going to Kenny's house to get the special ingredient. This magical ingredient needed is crack. To make it more authentic, they even added crackheads to guard it, just like Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. Number 48. This game also has the traditional element of summon characters. These are special characters that can do a massive amount of damage when called upon. Think of your favorite Final Fantasy summon character, and it's exactly like that, but homeless and on PCP. Number 49. The Stick of Truth has 4 different summons. The main difference between these summons and other RPG summons is that they can only be used once during a fight, and they can't be used during boss fights. Oh, and also they're way more offensive and funnier than all other summons in every other RPG combined. Number 50. The 4 summons in the Stick of Truth are Mr. Hanky, Mr. Slave, Twong Lu Kim, the City Walk guy, and Jesus. Each summon must be unlocked through completing several tasks. Number 51. The summons all have their own abilities. Mr. Hanky attacks with a tidal wave of poop, Jesus uses heavy firearms, Twong Lu Kim fights in samurai armor while using a sword, and Mr. Slave inhales enemies through his butthole. And somehow all those fates sound scarier than any horror game I can think of at the moment. Number 52. Trey Parker and Matt Stone didn't only completely write the script of the game, but they also voiced their respective characters, making it a rare occasion of a video game being written and voiced by the same people. What was the last game to do that? Like Pong? Number 53. The first character met in the game is Butters. After walking outside the house, the player will see Butters being attacked. The player then punches the attacker in the face, making Butters and the player best friends forever. Number 54. The tutorial starts off with the player having to choose a weapon from Clyde before the player is forced to fight Clyde, but Cartman is the one who actually teaches the player how to fight. And this is probably the nicest thing Cartman has ever done in South Park history. Number 55. In the Stick of Truth, the player is able to loot enemies that they defeat. Though this is a common function in RPG games, the loot highly differs in this one. It includes things like coffee, band-aids, and soda pop. Number 56. The name of the fortress in the game is Koopa Keep. It's located in Cartman's backyard, who is also the player's neighbor. Number 57. The Stick of Truth brings together the entire South Park universe. One of the first missions is to find the Great Warriors, Token, Craig, and Tweek. These are just 3 of the iconic South Park characters out of the dozens that are met and put to use. Number 58. Pre-ordering South Park: The Stick of Truth gave players access to exclusive costumes that feature special abilities. It was called the Ultimate Fellowship Pack, and the costumes included were Necromancer Sorcerer, Rogue Assassin, Ranger Elf, and Holy Defender. Number 59. A premium bundle was available and marketed as the Grand Wizard Edition. It was sold at a price of $80 and included the full game, a 6-inch Grand Wizard Cartman figure by Kid Robot, a Kingdom of South Park map, and the Ultimate Fellowship Pack that was included in the pre-orders. Number 60. The Chinpokomon were collectibles in the Stick of Truth. In the game, the player had to find 30 different types of Chinpokomon. The fake franchise and creatures were created to parody Pokemon and were introduced in episode 11 of Season 3, wherein the Japanese government used the Chinpokomon to subliminally brainwash the kids into re-attacking Pearl Harbor. Number 61. There are 6 Chinpokomon that can only be captured once in the Stick of Truth. Those 6 are Roidrat, Beetlebot, Gunrilla, Feetoswami, Turdakin, and Shu. This added to the authenticity of the game because everyone knew that one kid in town who used his shoe as a toy. Poor guy. Number 62. Collecting all 30 Chinpokomon comes with a special prize. The player is rewarded with a friend request from the Chinpokomon Corporation, which is in turn needed for the more popular than John Lennon trophy. Number 63. As you make your way to collecting all 30, you will also unlock Poco Chinpoco and Chinpoco Loco. Does anybody else want El Pollo Loco right now? Number 64. South Park: The Stick of Truth added a social network feature. The player can add South Park friends that are met while playing quests and side quests. There are 121 friends to add in total. A 4th grader having 121 friends is pretty impressive. Most 4th graders only have one, and mine was imaginary. Number 65. There are 8 friends that you only get one chance to add on the social network. These characters are Clyde, Bill, Fosse, Lemmywinks, Sergeant Yates, Bishop of Banff, Ike, Big Gay Al, and the Chinpokomon Corporation. Missing any of these friends will prevent the player from getting the more popular than John Lennon trophy. And let's be honest, we all really want that trophy. Number 66. Though some of the quests in the game can be a bit crude, there are also some touching moments as well, like in the quest Beat Up Clyde when Ike gets hit and starts crying. The player must then light the firework nearby to cheer him up. Ike will then add you as his friend. Even in South Park, nobody wants to see a little Canadian boy cry. Number 67. Some of the friends to add are famous people and politicians that have been mimicked in the show. One of those people is former Vice President Al Gore. To add him as a friend, the player must activate the side quest, Man Bear Pig. Number 68. There are 153 weapons and costume parts in the Stick of Truth. Some of them may make the player's character stronger, while others are just added jokes. Number 69. Most of the weapons and costume parts can be collected while walking in free roam or by purchasing them, but there are several items that can be easily missed or that are only obtained in certain missions, like the underpants helmet, which is only available after defeating the 3 gnomes that the player fights after watching the new kid's parents have sex. Yes, you heard that right. The player has to watch the character's fictional parents do the deed. Please do not try this at home, kids, please! Number 70. The 153 weapons and costume parts are located pretty much everywhere throughout the game, even in some of the characters. Ugh. To get the crown of anal pleasure, the player must go inside Mr. Slave to get it. Everybody loves a good field trip. Ugh. Number 71. In order to find the basketball item during the Attack the School quest, the player must loot the elf lying against the right side wall in the cafeteria. This not only gives the player a new item, but also the satisfaction of robbing a mythical woodland creature. Number 72. As mentioned, the Stick of Truth provides side quests other than the main mission. The Nazi zombie bounty side quest is easily missable. When the Nazi zombies are still in town, the player must speak to the sergeant in the police station. Completing the main story causes the zombies to disappear, along with the chance of completing this side quest. Number 73. The player doesn't just stay in South Park, you must also travel to other countries. Well, just one other country, really. Canada. In order to get there, the player must travel north 4 times through the Lost Forest. Of course, putting Canada in the game gave the creators someone else to blame. Again. Number 74. In the game, Canada is referred to as the mysterious kingdom to the north. When the player travels to Canada, the game itself turns into an 8-bit throwback. Number 75. There are 6 quests that you are able to complete in Canada: Forging Alliances, Recruit the Girls, Pose as Bebe's Boyfriend, Unplanned Parenthood, Heading North, and Oh Canada. Number 76. While exploring Canada, there are several different characters that the player can meet, including the 2 most popular Canadian stars, Terrence and Phillip. Terrence and Phillip are famous in the South Park world for their fart jokes that are always accompanied with actual farts. Number 77. The woodland Christmas critters from Season 8, Episode 14 can be found in the Lost Forest. To find them, the player must travel in these directions while in the forest. Right, up, right, down, right. Then, once there, the player will be asked some questions, and when prompted, if they select Accept the True Lord, they will then receive 12 friend requests. Thanks, critters. Number 78. Beware, the Lost Forest can be a bit confusing and can actually get the player lost. If you do lose your way, just stop moving for a few minutes, and then you can walk in any direction. This makes the new kid's parents show up to ground them for getting lost. Number 79. During the Beat Up Clyde mission, if the player walks out of the room with Mr. Slave instead of trying to deactivate the snook, there's actually an alternate ending. But who can pass up the opportunity to deactivate a thermonuclear device shoved inside Mr. Slave? Number 80. Things being shoved into Mr. Slave isn't a new idea. Mr. Slave swallowed Paris Hilton in Season 8, Episode 12 in the Stupid Spoiled Whore video playset episode. This episode is where Mr. Slave got his summon power for the Stick of Truth. Number 81. There's an outstanding number of achievements and trophies for the game, and some of them break the fourth wall. The trophy Too Far is awarded when the player farts on the corpse of an aborted Nazi zombie fetus. It's pretty appropriately named. Number 82. As with items, there are 11 achievements that can be easily missed. These achievements only come around one time, like the Perverted achievement, which the player is only able to obtain while walking with the gnomes during the scene of the new kid's parents having sex. The player must come out of the wall onto the dresser in the Underpants Gnome segment during the deed, and also watch them for an extended period of time. Like a pervert. Number 83. To finish the game with a 100% completion on achievements and trophies, you must play as the Jew class for the Are We Cool achievement. This achievement appears during the Father Maxi quest, where the player, as the Jew class, must find Jesus. Number 84. Another thing you must do to reach 100% completion of the achievements is to follow special instructions. Some of them are to not sell anything until the main mission of the game is finally over, and to not let any friends die until the main mission is over. After that, you can sell your things to get both the Junk Peddler and the For the Hoarder awards. Additionally, you can kill Kenny 10 times to receive the You Bastards achievement. Number 85. The new kid doesn't actually have very many words to say. The game keeps the character silent throughout the entire game with the exception of the very end, which you're just gonna have to beat the game to find out what happens. No spoilers here. The reason for this is that Trey Parker claimed he likes silent RPG heroes the best. Which ones? Well, number 86. The silence of the new kid protagonist was inspired by Link from the Zelda series, because, you know, Trey and Matt are big Zelda nerds. Number 87. Though Ubisoft has a game network called Uplay, the Stick of Truth is not on it. Instead, it's available on Steam, a popular game client and network amongst players. Number 88. One of the mini-games in South Park The Stick of Truth is giving Randy an abortion while agents watch. If the player lets one of Randy's balls get caught, the agents shoot you. Pretty far flung from most other games. Jumping on Koopas, this is not. Number 89. The Stick of Truth forced creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker to make a detailed map of South Park, which they had never done in the show's history. Maps are always overlooked until you need one. Helps to have a map. Number 90. The map of Stick of Truth is meant to be interactive. It's very similar to the GTA 5 map. The only real difference is if you play GTA 5 with your grandma, you don't have to explain what a Nazi chef zombie is doing to 4th graders. Instead, you might have other things to explain to her. Number 91. Matt Stone and Trey Parker decided to make an amazing quality game because they felt anything else wouldn't be fair to their fans. Stone said, quote, "People are spending $60 for a game. For most people, it's a big purchase that you might forego something else to afford. And even apart from money, it's also a time investment." Number 92. One of the things that Stone learned about making a video game is that the jokes have to be delivered differently. He said the natural rhythms of comedy that we know pretty well from the TV comedy universe, they're different from a game. Just like the rules of censorship, right, Matt? Number 93. South Park The Stick of Truth was released with an M rating from the ESRB. The ESRB uses a 6-tier rating system from EC for early childhood to AO for adults only. Number 94. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are self-proclaimed lifelong gamers. When asked if he was going to get a new console, Matt Stone said, "I'm a huge FIFA fan, so I had to get one to play FIFA." Number 95. There's a special fart attack that the player can use. Yup. The fart attack is called the Dragon Shout, which simulates all the fun that farting can be, and if you hold down the fart button, the new kid will fart forever. Number 96. There's a lot of practicality in the game design to make certain things like magic and bombs possible in a realistic way. For example, ice spells are displayed through the use of fire extinguishers, fireworks are used for explosions, and cupped farts are used for bombs. Every 4th grader's dream. Number 97. Other characters in the party use special powers in combat. One of Jimmy's specials is called the Brown Note. Jimmy blows on a horn, causing enemies to poop their pants. Number 98. One of the most powerful weapons in the game is the Vibroblade. This is a dildo sword that becomes attainable late in the game, and you can find it inside Mr. Slave. Oh. Number 99. On the first night, the new kid is abducted and then probed by aliens. This is a reference to the very first episode of South Park where Cartman was anally probed. Number 100. There's a lot of graphic content in the Stick of Truth, but one of the most graphic scenes is the old man penis at the very end. An old man penis should only be seen in a gym locker room at a glance at the very most, but It's in this game. Number 101. One of the major complaints that people had about the Stick of Truth was that the actual RPG part of the game wasn't as good as it could have been. Many game reviewers are hoping that South Park: The Fractured But Whole focuses more on this. Number 102. There is a secret enemy you can fight in the game, the Bank Teller. To fight him, the player must use the gnome dust to shrink down in size and go through a hole behind the left side of his desk. He's pretty easy to defeat since he has nothing to protect him and no special moves. Once defeated, you can then loot all of the bank teller's investments. Number 103. Trey Parker said that when creating South Park: The Stick of Truth, he wanted to make the next step in RPG evolution. Parker said the only reason he didn't was because, quote, "Eventually I realized what I wanted it to be would have taken about 20 years and $80 billion to make." But hey, it's still a great game without costing $80 billion, so there's that. Number 104. Parker said that they wanted to include South Park: The Stick of Truth into the show's season. The only reason it didn't happen was, as Trey Parker put it, quote, "That sounds like a bitch." He also described it as a 6-month Tuesday, which is a reference to their documentary, 6 Days to Air: The Making of South Park. Number 105. If the player stands idle for a little bit, the other characters, including those in the player's party, begin to shout obscenities at them. It makes the player feel like they really are in South Park. Number 106. Some of the healing items in the game include different kinds of sodas or speed-augmenting boosters like Tweak's Coffee. Is there anyone that coffee doesn't help? And number 107. There are about a solid 14 hours of actual gameplay in South Park: The Stick of Truth, which is actually a little light on hours for a role-playing game. But still, 14 hours of fart jokes is impressive on any level. Once again, I'm Jacob, and thanks for watching 107 Facts about South Park: The Stick of Truth. What's your favorite quest? And what do you think is the best character class to use? Did we leave anything out? Comment below and let us know. We have new videos dropping every week, so let us know what game you want us to cover next. And if you like getting more from your games, subscribe to the Leaderboard, where we help you game smarter.